Welcome everybody. I'm very pleased to see so many of you to tackle such an important subject. I would like to thank Italpreziosi. I'd like to thank Dorica, Mr. Zonta and all his staff. We shall tackle a very important subject today, which is a very innovative indeed. Becoming B Corp today is a choice that requires the involvement of all the company in terms of culture, investments. But becoming a B Corp is a choice that is going to make a difference on the market. So I believe that is very useful to listen to the experience of companies that made this decision and did so with conviction. And I'm sure that we're going to learn important things today so as to understand how important it is today to be active on the market with distinctive feature as the ones that mark a B Corp company. Having said so as much, I'd like to wish you a fruitful session.
Oh, Ivana Ciabatti.
Unfortunately, Ivana Ciabatti is not with us today, so I shall read her speech. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm greatly pleased to welcome you to this event, which is dedicated to a subject which is of the utmost importance for the future of our company, the B Corp certification for precious metals and what it may mean for the environment. We're here today not just to talk about sustainability, but to develop a community that shares common objectives and targets. All too long, the market has perceived sustainability as an obligation, whereas it should be perceived as a greatest opportunity to create true value over time, not just for our companies, but for the planet at large. Personally speaking, I've always thought as a businesswoman with a lot of attaching a great importance to ethics. So together with our team, we wanted to promote a better sustainable future, protecting the safeguard of the human beings. We have to find the four solutions, creating not just economic values, but also attention for the environment. This is why we've triggered this journey to become a B Corp as an opportunity to grow further. This is the first time and the community of the B Corp joins effort together to raise the awareness so that other companies can join in. This is a journey that is teaching us to rethink so as to include principles of sustainability. We are sure we can rely on the support of B-Lab, a partner that is a great inspiration, that provides us a tool for in measuring our environmental performance. Today, we'd like to trigger a conversation. We try to share other people, to invite other people to undertake the same journey. We wanted to establish connections to becoming a team so as to meet the challenges ahead of us and to meet the requirements of our customers and their expectations as well. This is an objective that we cannot carry forward in isolation. We have to develop a network. We have to contribute to this awareness raising. The market should be taught how to choose the company whose values can be shared. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you for the contribution that each of you shall give. Together we can renovate an industry, not just that of precious metals, but also we can do much more for the planet and the people living in it. Thank you. Having said as much, I wish to ask Mr. Zonta, the founder of Dorica, with whom we've organized this discussion. So over to you, Mr. Zonta. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. B Corp certification implies creating value for the society at large and for the environment. This is the subject matter of this meeting. Here you see the subject that we're going to comment on. Why should we distinguish ourselves and not to die? Together with my wife, we've incorporated our company some 15 years ago. I would never think I could start a business. What does running a business mean to me? It's a mission. You have to be passionate for some time during your life, or as an entrepreneur, you manage a common good. So you hold a great responsibility vis-a-vis the civilization. It may lead to gains and profits, so as to better manage the future of yourself and your families. And the common goods are those assets that we might have inherited that we have the duty to transfer on to future generations. Material assets over and above individual properties include natural resources, water, flora and fauna, and all essential and goods and that basically belong to the community at large and are necessary for our survival. These are the basis of our civilization, as, for example, the value of democracy, legality, respect, tolerance of rights. But more than rights, we should think about duties, transparency, ethics. The businessman managing such goods has to be fully committed in his or her community in the development of an intangible heritage, the social capital, which has to be developed based on the cooperation of individuals, so as to distinguish him or herself. What is Dorica? Dorica is a manufacturing company born out of the experience of my wife as a creative person and myself as a business manager. It is a manufacturing company. Up until the 70s, this was synonymous with those companies where raw material would get in and finished product with be the final product. Well, there are different steps that raw material goes through, thanks to the experience that we've learned within our company, so as to distinguish ourselves. To generate value, we have to look at prejudices. Each of us, of course, has to do his or her share. Each of us inhabiting this planet are both producers and consumers of goods and services. Let's have a look at this more closely. As producers and manufacturers of goods and services, we could be suppliers, we can be employees or employers, and as such, we want to get to be paid for our job and to see our rights protected. But usually when our actors, consumers, we want to buy as much as possible at the lowest price. Every cent is a spender for people, and we should also think about the environment we generate. Whenever you buy something, you should act responsibly towards the society and the environment. I should buy something not just because I need it or I like it, but also because I share in the values it represents. When I buy something, I should be fully aware of the impact I generate. Each of our behaviors has an impact on the planet. But how about the money that is paid for the people that live in remote countries? Well, we buy a lot, but these people in the remote countries might get nothing in return. We should think about the working conditions, about the working hours, about per day, per week, under which conditions. So what about these people living in remote continents being our children? Will we be as willing to buy such objects? Antonio is now going to talk about the treasure project, i.e. products that are a result of craftsmanship that are synonymous with our community, combining silk and gold, combining the world of fashion and the world of jewelry. Let me close now with two quotations by people that probably never met. On the one hand, there's a gentleman from Switzerland, a philosopher, and another philosopher from India. Only change in individual behaviors will bring with them a change in our actions. Everything starts from the individual. Carl Gustav Jung. See the change that you want to see in the world. Mahatma Gandhi from India. Thank you.
Grazie mille per...
Thank you very much. This is exactly the spirit we wanted for this event. Bilab, unfortunately, cannot participate today, but I will provide you with an introduction. Bilab is and the B Corp certification. This is something I'm going to talk about. And then we will see some business research and some insights from the industry. So B Corp is a movement, a global movement of people who use the business as a positive force. Together we work to transform our economic system. It is a growing global movement with more than 8,800 companies, 3,900 of which in Europe, more than 160 industries and one single target. The common good. What do we mean by common good, common benefit? We work hard because we want to transform our economic system in such a way that it can have a positive impact for all stakeholders, people, communities, and the planet as well. The B-Lab vision is that of creating an inclusive, equal, and regenerative economic system for the people and for the planet. And this is our dissemination in Europe. And you can see how many companies we have. 309 in Italy. Unfortunately, very few of our industry, only 3. And we hope that with this first event, this number is going to grow. So what is this exactly? To obtain the B Corp certificate, it is necessary to go through the B Impact Assessment. This is a tool that analyzes the impact of your company and measures it. It's a very precious tool because depending on the answers you give, it calculates your impact. To have access to the certificate, you need a minimal score, 80. So if at the start your score is not high enough, you can always improve it and progressively achieve your target. The performance is measured in 5 different areas: employees, environment, customers, community, and governance. These are the fundamental areas we all know about. This is requested not only by B Corp, but by all the standards. B Corp is a tool, or the impact assessment is available online. It is free of cost. We share it with everybody. This is an instrument that is free of cost and everybody can benefit from it. It measures the social and environmental impact of a company in the 5 areas. Benchmarking is available to compare your performance with your peers in your industry, so that you know how you rank in your industry. And then improvement. Improvement is fundamental. Progression is fundamental. How do you understand the assessment? Well, there is an operational impact and an impact on the business model. Operational because questions are asked on the operations of a company. Company processes, products and services, and it has an impact also on the business model because, of course, a company can have a positive benefit for one or more stakeholders. So when you achieve your score and you obtain your certificate, the certificate has a duration of approximately 3 years. These are once again the 5 fields: governance, emissions, ethics, metrics, employees, corporate environment, human resources, safety and health, financial safety, professional development. Well, I hope that after this meeting you will go in the website and see how it actually works. For Italian B Corps, a very important requirement is that of being a benefit company, a legal form that integrates common benefit with profit targets. So it is a commitment to generate a positive impact on people and on the environment, requiring an annual impact report to be published. BIA is a necessary precondition. So the score is not enough. You also need to be a benefit company. I would like to introduce Professor Cantele now, who will show the research work that has been carried out to provide us with the Italian context. Thank you very much and good afternoon, everybody. I'm a professor in management at the University of Verona, and I'm the reference person for lab research regarding sustainability governance. So how are companies managed? Sustainability studies show
le aziende potrebbero essere più performanti quando si occupano anche di questi aspetti sociali e ambientali, e l'interesse quindi per il fenomeno società benefit e
therefore the B Corp aspect is for those companies that aim at achieving a profit but can widen their mission towards social and environmental aspects. In Italy, it is possible to take on the legal form of the benefit company, società benefit, thereby declaring that the company does not only aim at making profits but also aims at a social benefit. To become a B Corp company, you must also evaluate your impact by means of the B Impact Assessment. These two aspects go hand in hand. You need to be a benefit company to achieve your certificate. And benefit companies must provide a certain level of transparency. They must publish an impact report annually, and they must be measured also by an independent standard, of which BIA can be the case. We find benefit companies particularly interesting because one of the big questions today is, does sustainability pay back? Do companies that can regenerate economic value represent the ideal vehicle to resolve the problems of sustainable development? We have carried out some research. A couple of years ago, for instance, we tried to answer the following questions. Which are the features of a company that make it more performing in terms of sustainability? So we took the B Impact Assessment, the score of the companies as a proxy of performance of sustainability, and we tried to see which characteristics companies must have to reach a high performance in this field. There are different features, such as the age of the company, the emissions, the presence of women in the board of directors, the duration of the certification, and profitability. And we were able to see that mature companies that are not born with a sustainable type of business need a high profitability, a high number of women in the board, and a certain experience with certification prior to reaching a high impact level. Conversely, those companies that become B Corp almost immediately, that is, let's say 1 year after their incorporation, achieve a high BIA value also without being profitable, not necessarily with a high number of women in the board, because most likely they already have the right mindset.
Percorso che abbiamo individuato.
So there is this dual possibility. Well, are B Corp transparent and sustainable, as well as more resilient, also in economic terms? We have compared the performance of a group of B Corp companies with a peer group, that is, non-B Corp companies, but coming from the same sector and with the same size, to see how they reacted during the first 2 years, that is, the COVID pandemic year and the following year. And it has been demonstrated statistically that B Corp companies are more resilient in terms of change in their turnover during 2020, where they suffered less compared to their peers. In the following year, the year during which many companies had to tackle very high production costs versus a reduced turnover, B Corp company once again proved to be more efficient. In both years, therefore, B Corp companies have proven to be more profitable compared to their peers, so they can better react to a crisis situation. Also thanks to the elasticity and the capability to relate with a significant group of stakeholders and to develop according to different expectations. A third group, or a third research, was focused on benefit companies that have to write the annual sustainability report.
Results haven't been very encouraging, as many benefit corp do not do the adequate record keeping in terms of environmental, and we looked at the quality of these records. We looked at the what they included, and we saw that becoming B Corporation grants certain advantages in that the average quality of this report is pretty low, but in the case of B Corp, reports seems to be more precise. So becoming B Corp and a benefit corporation implies you're more accurate in using the right quantitative indicators. So the reports that are put together are of better quality and better measure the impact. Indeed, the impact assessment teaches you to do so. So usually the better experienced are more accurate as the ones using GRI. Now, we're going to look at the studies that have been carried out. You see that the company that chooses to be a benefit corp or B Corp are better than other companies. In our hands, we see that benefit corporation choose to become B Corp, i.e. companies that are committed for sustainability and decide to make it more formal and to state it publicly. This makes them better resilient, because if you're used to consider different stakeholders and your counterparts, if you are used to taking them on board, then you have you feel you're also more legitimate. You are better used to tackle potential difficulties. There are different ways you can be efficient in terms of environmental protection. Employers should understand that there is an opportunity in becoming B Corp, especially the case of small companies. Small companies at times find it difficult in record keeping, but to be transparent, you have to be good enough to keep your books in order and communicate about it adequately. Thank you. So resilience, credibility, because also the new EU legislation will make it mandatory for the record keeping and for the records to be adequately controlled, because there are going to be audits, also not just on economic records, but also on sustainability records. So this is a very important tool to be used in order to get used to acting at best. So we believe that companies should learn to keep their records in order from different points of view. And now Mr. Bizzotto from Dorica is going to take the floor together with another delegate from the jewelry industry that has adopted a B certificate. I'd like to start with Bizzotto from Dorica, who's going to tell us what they did. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I shall cover our experience as a certificate, as a company with certificate. We started in 2017, thanks to the support of a Milan company who is specialized in supporting companies in carrying out this certification. This experience is a journey that took some 2 years to us. This process is based on a set of measurements. Such measures are then to be included in the impact assessment. The first advantage, which is to be brought about by this certificate process, is that you learn to measure your data. Such data are ever more abundant in other companies, but sometimes we are not organized in recording them. We got to 70 scores, and then our score included. A tangible example I'd like to refer to is the one of procurement, something or supplies that is always to be considered in your certification. With B Corp, we had to look into it, into the value chain measurements. This is the bullet point where you see whether your company is organized so as to provide a positive impact in the community where the company is based. There are different questions to be asked in order to pass a judgment on the suppliers. At the end, the score for suppliers is obtained looking at the social environmental practices monitored by per each supplier. B Lab provides a number of potential answers to this question. So at least people have to, or suppliers should comply with existing legislation. There is another potential answer that could be given to this question, whereby certificates are in the hands of different suppliers. So working together with partners that share with you the same attention to the environment and sustainability, and that have obtained certification as S8000 or ISO 9000 or JC. So if your suppliers have already the certificates, basically your score is going to be higher. So working with partners such as Italpreziosi, in our case, provides us an advantage, because basically we establish a link with suppliers that are certified and that have a positive repercussion on us. There are typical certificates like Fair Mind or Fair Trade that can be obtained, and this adds on your score. So in the case you make your purchases based on social criteria. So if you basically have partnership with companies that attach importance to the social bookkeeping and not just to the economic bookkeeping, well, In this case, fair trade asks for a premium price. As customer, we pay for a higher price for gold. This higher price, this premium price, is paid to support miners to recondition the areas once the mining activity is completed. And this, of course, has a value to it. To be economically sustainable, obviously, there are a number of choices that are to be made so that final consumers also are ready to pay for it. There are products that are targeted for specific public. So you have to find the right consumers that share with your values. Otherwise, you cannot basically transfer the cost, but there is an advantage to be drawn by paying an extra premium when you safeguard the environment and the community that has worked for the development of your product. Then Villa Poi Palladio has been chosen as the premises for this institution because, again, this is an additional value that we want to convey. This may be concerned as a checklist, maybe, to be followed when you wanted to show your attention to the environment and to the community through the choice of partners, suppliers, and contractors. B Corp and other certificates, likewise similar certificates, have important repercussions for the community.
So BIA tries to improve the social and environmental impact through the cooperation between the company and the area. So in this case, next to the numerous seminars and meetings like this one, we have declared ourselves available to several universities for possible dissertations and theses. In 2020, Professor Cantele, for instance, has been the leading professor of a thesis about benefit companies and a new way of organizing an enterprise. So this student actually investigated several examples, including Dorica. So this is a concrete possibility for those people who are interested in this kind of topics. In this room, we also have another student who has made use of our data to write her own thesis. We have more than 30 theses in Italian and European universities that have focused on B Corp. And we have provided students with a significant amount of information. This has the purpose of valorizing what we do in the community. And of course, all this information must be processed to provide for accurate communication. And this brings some extra benefits. Being present in the digital world, communication approaching the youngest generations is an advantage. We can organize meetings. It is possible to pre-select stuff identifying individuals that have similar interests to the ones pursued by the company. Companies sometimes are also interviewed by their main channel media, like Rai 1 in Italy. They asked us to interview the company because it is a B Corp company. In other words, many useful consequences. And I'd like to conclude by quoting Riccardo Sabatini, a well-known scientist and entrepreneur, as well as a great communicator, that explains why we should all be focusing on sustainability and B Corp certification. The concept of B Corp is so obvious that its contrary is suspicious. So this very clearly explains what a B Corp certificate is. Thank you. Well, for sure, this brings a lot of benefit in terms of reputation and business as well. Because the organization becomes more trained, better prepared. And B Corp is one of those few certificates that final consumers do know very well. Because other certificates are more B2B and not B2C. I would like to know about Joy's experience in terms of artisanal production. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for inviting me here. Well, we are a very small artisanal company. It's me and my partner. So most entrepreneurs would view us as idealists. We started with an idea. That is, we wanted to have a positive impact. This was non-negotiable. Also because jewellery is not food. It is something futile, so you have to do it in the best possible way. We work predominantly online. We produce unique items. We are privileged, and we can be as sustainable as possible. We chose B Corp because this reflects our ideals. Sustainability is not a sectorial aspect, it is holistic. We are sustainable also in our private life. We prefer trains versus flights. We like to buy walnuts that have been traded in a fair way. So B Corp actually reflects who we are. And in 2025, everybody should be responsible of their impact. We all have an impact and we want to be aware of it, or we can ignore that. But we all have an impact. And the right thing to do is to be responsible of your impact. We started in 2021. We do not have a lot of experience because we're not the third or fourth generation of jewelers. So we also wanted a tool to challenge ourselves and to compare ourselves with companies in the rest of the world. Well, as we've heard, there are very few companies in Italy, and we work in very different fields. There's so many certificates pertaining to sustainability, but the only certificate that really includes everything in a realistic way is B Corp. That's why we chose B Corp. What do we do to be a B Corp company? This has been a practical process for us, not just theory, not just something to write in our social channels. To become a B Corp, you have to follow some practical steps. For us, everything started from the value chain, which is problematical in jewelry. So the value chain was a fundamental step. We only use fair mined gold and silver. It's a choice. We pay more for that. But considering the cost of gold today, you can't say, I can't afford gold because I have to pay the miner 10% more.
Paghiamo l'oro in questo momento. Quindi secondo me
it would not be consistent. So fair mined gold and silver is a fundamental choice. For copper, palladium and platinum, we do not have solutions yet. We're not perfect. We try to do the best, but we're not perfect. So for copper, there's nothing. Maybe there will be soon an IRMA-certified mine. Also for platinum, Anglo-American should provide a responsible platinum certificate. For palladium, there's absolutely nothing. For diamonds, gems and pearls, the situation is even more complex. Right, there's the Kimberley process and the Kimberley certificate, which is not sufficient. Its scope is too limited. We've decided to work with special diamonds coming from the sea. They have a much lower carbon footprint. And we can do that because we're small. We do not need 10,000 diamonds of the same size. But it is an opportunity for us. For pearls and gemstones, there are no certificates, so we have an excellent relationship with our suppliers. We got only 3 or 4 suppliers. They tell us where they buy pearls, sapphires, tourmalines. They tell us their journey, their story, and this is a limitation because it is hard for me to find an aquamarine. I have to find the right supplier able to give me certain guarantees. All this information has been included in documents that have been signed and sent to B Corp. Our company is based in Italy. We have only heat pumps. LED lights were very efficient in terms of energy consumption. And we work with a cooperative, an hosta based in Milan. They are excellent. I really recommend them to all of you because they really tell you where the energy comes from. Thanks to the B impact assessment, we have learned what to do with our waste products. We have improved our process. We have found solutions thanks to the impact assessment. And we are now publishing our impact report in a much more aware way and in a much more precise way. Costs. B Corps are not particularly expensive. You can see in this table that 2,000 euros is the price to be paid if your turnover is less than 1 million. And then, of course, this price goes up, but not exponentially. So this is my opinion.
What are the benefits when becoming a B Corp? Well, we've been contacted by clients that got to us through the B Corp website. So when we asked them how they found us, they told us so straightforward. And this is very, very well a nice thing to find out because we realized that being a small company, we felt like we found some partners. So it was very good to meet these people. Straightforward question was raised to us, and that in a way urged us to solving problems and understanding why we wanted to become a B Corp, and that helped us a lot. And in a way, they also pointed out to a set of steps to get always better. This is an example that may seem commonplace for many, but among the different options we have, because once the impact assessment is over, you become a B Corp, and then you have to identify your weaknesses, and based on the weaknesses you may decide what are the objectives in terms of improvement. Well, the objective that we set is going to be changing banks, because you know that banks have an impact. Our money in banks are sometimes invested in a non-sustainable way. Our bank is Banca Generali, but maybe we can now become clients of Banca Etica. There are indeed other banks who pursue objectives that are similar to the ones that we pursue, and that is going to grant us a higher score. And this is certainly not straightforward, but the solution seems straightforward. Basically, you can improve this way, and so then you can decide whether you want to follow that route or not. Anyway, it is quite straightforward again, and this is very, very, very positive. Let me close now by saying that whether it is worthwhile or not. Well, for many people, 90% of the people are not interesting. There are people who are not interested. In that case, it is not worth it. There's no point in doing things if you're not convinced about that. There are advantages in becoming a B Corp, but this is inconsistent because, you know, if I say I believe this is true, it means it doesn't mean it is true, because it means that I believe so. Obviously, knowing that our company has an impact, and not just an economic impact in that it makes us gain money, but in that of creating positive values for those who work with us, those who work for us, then I think that it is worthwhile to become a B Corp. Thank you. Thank you for being very comprehensive. Thank you. Your presentation has been most interesting, and everybody has seen that step by step. Not only do we look at one company, but at all the different items of a company. As Joy was saying, and as Dorica pointed out too, vision is important. So there could be very important advantage to be drawn, but if you trust in that, there's no point in following that route. I shall draw my own conclusions. We looked at a B Corp. We've been certified as B Corp. We are green finance, set up by Ciabatti, the former president of Federorafi, very active in the area. And Ivana Ciabatti's vision was a key in that she always trusted this process that was focused on sustainability. If you haven't started along this road 15 years ago, you can never do. It doesn't mean you can do that, but a change of mindset is required. In our case, the mindset was there. In our case, everything started off in 2008 when we became members to the London Bullet Association. And then we entered into a series of projects together with Honduras with a small group of miners, because as Joy was saying, and as Mr. Bizzotto was saying, the supply chain has a very important impact. Indeed, all suppliers should be involved in this process. Obtaining other certificates such as ISO or others, or following reporting rules is an advantage in becoming a B Corp. If you don't become a B Corp, well, B Corp gives you some guidelines to follow if you don't have other certificates. Of course, you have to adopt an holistic approach. Of course, the environment is not more important than the social components or the economic components. All of them are as important. If you see them in isolation, there's no way forward, because any action in one area has repercussions on the other one. Everything is, of course, closely interconnected, whether you want it or not. Measuring the impact is key. And this is something that you can do with the adequate tool. You have to adopt a responsible behavior. You have always to focus on the climate change and nature, because there's nothing you can do unless you think about nature and you want to protect it. We're here because we can breathe, and air is part of our heritage. You have to pursue inclusion and accountability as well. Accountability is something that we obtain thanks to data gathering actions. We cannot just focus on storytelling. You have to quantify what you do. You have to measure. As the previous speaker said, you cannot just tell stories unless they're based on data. I wish now to refer to the cooperation and sharing within the supply chain. This is key indeed. As was said by Joy earlier on, there are 1,000 certificates that can be obtained, and it could give you a headache to understand what to do, where to start from. But what is important is that those who already have the tools to understand should share them with others. To do so, in 2019, we set up our website, which is called Chain of Information. The idea was to put on a website all the ideas that proved to be important to get the certificate. There are many video guides by different associations grouped together from all over the world to basically put all the information together when you need them. In 2023, we've made it public because we wanted to make it available to all of our counterparts, even competitors, associations, customers, suppliers, small companies, because we believe that there are streamlined contents also for companies that at times might find it more difficult to understand such things. So KYC has been created from know your counterpart to empower your counterpart. The KYC is a time when you understand who's your counterpart, you understand the risk, but you may attach a value to it to understand what distances to be covered, and then you can do your homework and improve. I'm stating as much because oftentimes we open an account to potential supplier, and then we told them that there is a road to follow. So if also other suppliers want to make business with us, they are given a set of steps to follow so as to pursue one important target, that of the common good. Other people have referred to social dimension, and I'd like to refer to two subjects that are often neglected. And that is climate change and nature. There are regulations in Europe that are being implemented and that are focused on such issues. The supply chain is key whenever you talk of environmental impact. We have to ask our partners to provide us more data, so we have to measure the impact that we generate. All companies could have solar panels, for example, but all have to measure the impact they cause, the footprint they create. So you have to, in a way, start these measurements also with your suppliers and counterparts, and this will provide useful information to understand whether your footprint is positive or not. We've put together all our roadmaps because, you cannot do everything in one go. Of course, there are steps you have to go through, but there are objectives that are to be set. Sometimes such objectives are very ambitious, but you have to be ambitious to have a positive impact. Should you be interested, the video is going to be made available online. There are many other experiences that can be inspirational. Diversity and inclusion are key. And the supply chain is not very strong on it. More information to be gathered, more data to be gathered. And another aspect to be highlighted is that of cooperation. B Corp and B Lab indeed is synonymous with a true movement. It is a group of companies who pursue one common good, that of common good again. members of the associations should be proactive. So everybody should talk with their colleagues, competitors, so as to act jointly. We do so, exchanging ideas with other institutions, other associations, also with the OECD, the United Nations, other institutions that interact with businesses such as ours, so as to find common good. The Women Empowerment Principle has been drafted by an association that has been referred to also last year. Then we have another association such as Women in Mining, and another one is an association that focuses on fair mines. But, you know, you have to ask difficult questions, you have to learn, you have to carry out research and do something. I'd like to close up telling about what we think about B Corp. Well, B Corp can help us in try to trigger continuous improvements. This is a process that points out to doing always better. Sustainability is also a risk. It's not just marketing action. So this is a risk that has to be adequately managed. We have to engage our stakeholders and share this process with all of them. This is a challenge that we decided to tackle at a multidisciplinary level. So there are questions that seem not specifically conceived for our industry. So the BIA is important as a starting point. And then there are future certification. IRMA has also been referred to, which is an initiative certifying mines on a large scale. There are many initiatives available, but you have to start somewhere. Well, BIA enables you to start with a governance structure, enabling you to adopt a strategy. Without the strategy, of course, you can start a piecemeal, but you don't have a overall impact. I hope that you've learned something, because we'd like it very much to do something practical. Now I'd like to open the floor to questions, should you have any doubts or comments. Please feel free to ask your questions if you have any.
Non siate timidi, eh?
Don't be shy.
Paure, non lo so, dubbi.
Any doubts?
Siamo stati chiari.
If not, it means we've been very clear. Microphone, please. So also small company can be certified. This is a very important point. And it is a very important direction. Absolutely. Very often we hear companies don't know how to do it. They do not know how to start this. But there are many different tools. Of course, you need the willingness to start the change. I have done it personally, individually. I'm bilingual. My father is English, so this is a big help because I understand English very well. But it is free of cost, and there is no deadline. So you start it, and you think, okay, I'll answer 2 or 3 questions. Oh, I'm not so sure about this question, so you can think about it, and you can answer after 1 month. So it just actually follows your rhythm. And it is very useful also for a company that does not necessarily want to be certified, but that wants to start moving in this direction, independent of the company size. Very well. If there are no other questions, you're all invited to participate in this journey. Try the P impact assessment. Invite anybody you know to do that. We need to disseminate this. You will find all the contents online, and thank you very much for your attention.
Presentazioni belle, coincise.